peace sign. He don't love me like she loves me. And he did it last night. Oh, have I got taste? Well, if you're a record collector, because that's what we've been talking about today, there's a new Blue Christmas release on Graceland vinyl. We've got, I believe, a slide. Blue Christmas, Santa Claus is back in town, the third release in the limited edition 10-inch collector's vinyl series available here from Graceland. It's blue. First in a series, a 70th anniversary celebration of Elvis's breakout hit, That's All Right, completely sold out during pre-order. Second release commemorates the 65th anniversary of Elvis's return to the spotlight after 2 years in the Army. Available for purchase now at Graceland and shopgraceland.com. You can pre-order at shopgraceland.com. It's going to ship in November, and it's exclusive here to the Graceland shops. Also, they've got this that is out now as well. The Stuck on You, Fame and Fortune in stores. 65th anniversary of those sessions and this release. So that's available now. All right, I know we're running a little long, but I don't think we care, do we? No. I said I don't think we care, do we? No. Thank you. I wanted my boss to hear that backstage. We had a very special guest the other night during the Hollywood evening performance, and that was someone who had been away from Graceland for a while. She came here in the 1960s with her husband, Jerry Schilling. She met Jerry and Elvis in the 60s working on a film called Paradise Hawaiian Style in Hawaii. She is Hawaiian. She met Jerry. They fell in love, got married, and moved to Memphis. And she had not been back since she had left Memphis a few years after that. The other night she was emotional because this was all very new to her, being on stage, being in front of people. Tony and I are very comfortable on stage being in front of people. You may have noticed that. But she's here because she had a great love of Elvis and a friendship with Elvis that she wanted to share with you. She hadn't told these stories very often. Her friends really aren't aware of what had happened early in her life. And so this is all still very new to her. I was with her last night as she toured the mansion, having not been back in there in over 60 years. The emotions that came out, she's with her son who is here. And they're seeing, and he is seeing a part of her life that he had only heard about. So let's welcome her to the stage, Sandy Kawelo. With, I believe, a special escort as well. Here she is, Sandy Kawelo, along with her escort, Jerry Schilling. My goodness, you've got a lot of love in this room. A lot of love in this room.
I'm so proud to be able to walk this lady up on stage who spent so many years here in California with us, vacations in Hawaii, and I think she's the best kept secret in the Elvis world. She has never made an appearance, never done an interview, 61 years, and as I was saying to somebody the other day, I said, you know, I don't know if anybody ever said anything bad about Sandy. And they said, what's there bad to say about it? So I'm going to let Tom and Sandy talk, and I'll come back after.
Come back.
Okay?
Thank you. You got it. Thank you, Jerry.
My wife, Cindy, loves me.
We get along well together.
Thank you, right here. Oh, good to see you. What a night we had with your friends, your tour group, and it was with you going through the mansion last night. We were walking into rooms that you had not been in years, and was it smaller, larger, more colorful, or how different than you remembered?
So different. Elvis wasn't there. You know, that touched my heart so much. And the memories so linger on, and it's just amazing to be there after all these years. Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? Yes. I'm so used to using my hands while I'm talking.
That's why
I dance, I dance.
That's why we took the mic out of her hands. You don't have to do that twice.
Too much.
But it's wonderful to have you here and to tell your story. And we talked about it a little bit the other night, but let's talk about, you're in Hawaii and you're a dancer, and you find out that Elvis is coming to Hawaii to film a movie. What was the reaction of people around you? I mean, Hawaii was still a relatively new state at the time that all this happened, and Elvis had a great love of Hawaii. How did you guys feel about this movie crew invading your beloved country?
I know. I was a student at Church College of Hawaii, which was now called BYU Hawaii, and I was there for only a year, you know, at the university. And when we heard that Elvis was coming, I mean, we as dancers, I had to audition to be a part of the show at the Polynesian Cultural Center. How many of you have been there to Polynesian Cultural Center? It's quite an amazing place. But it's there were lots of us as students there, and we're all from all over Polynesia. And we just embraced him coming over. We were just excited, so excited, and it's such a new experience. How could we, as students, be a part of all of this, you know, all of this big production that's coming there, and they were there for a week. And so he joined in, I mean, we joined him in this whole production, and he was so willing and loving every minute of being with us kids. You know, it was so new, such a new experience.
Wonderful for him to get away from Hollywood, to be actually on location in Hawaii, and to be with you, to be out of the studio. And he had a great love of the culture of Hawaii. He had a great love of the people of Hawaii. Mm-hmm. We were walking last night, and we ended up at one point in the jungle room. And supposedly that is to, you know, it gives us that feeling of Polynesian culture. Mm-hmm. What did you think of actually seeing, because the jungle room was new to you, it wasn't there when you were...
But it reminded me of Hawaii. You know, it reminded me of gathering, a great place to gather.
Yeah.
You know, and that's exactly what we did when we were at Graceland.
Yeah. That
was a meeting place for all of the guys and their wives, you know, and family. When I was in Graceland and I lived there, they were my family. I was so far away from home, and all of the guys and Elvis and Priscilla welcomed me with open arms. They were so kind, and
you were away from home for the first time.
I was away from home.
Imagine going from Hawaii to Memphis, Tennessee.
Where it's cold. I'm a warm-hearted person. I mean, I froze there. And it was beautiful because there was snow, you know, and there's this magnificent nativity scene, life-size nativity scene, and that was my first time seeing snow, you know? Yeah, I never saw snow before. And, but coming over, I had no clothes. You know, having all thin clothes, so my concern was getting a jacket or a coat, you know, to keep me warm. And so I went to the Liberty House, which is now a Macy's, like a Macy's at that time, and got me what I thought would be comfortable for me, and it turned out to be this length, but it was just a rain jacket. You know, I mean, we didn't have any warmer clothes there for purchase. I wasn't sure.
They don't sell that in Hawaii.
They don't sell that in Hawaii. Yeah. Now they do, though, because of travel.
Yeah.
But it was quite an experience packing up and moving over. But when I got there, everybody was so loving and so caring about me moving into this new environment.
And you became close to Priscilla as a
Yeah.
friend. Talk about that and about being with her and Jerry, I think probably later talk about, horses and things like that happened. But you spent a lot of time together with her.
We did, because we were the same age, and most of the guys, the Memphis Mafia, as they were referred to, had wives and they, were starting families. And so Priscilla and I were just the ones there alone. So when the group would travel away, we'd be in Memphis, so we hung out together. And one of the things we liked to do was go horseback riding. So we'd get into a car and go down to the stables and go horseback riding, And that's basically, I grew up with a couple of horses in our family, and Priscilla probably did too, because she just got on that horse and we just went, and had a great time. And so that led, we didn't know this, that Elvis got into wanting to buy Priscilla a gift. And he asked Jerry if he could buy a gift, a horse. He wanted to buy Priscilla a horse. And he wanted to know if he could send me a horse too. And that's exactly what they did, and they surprised us. But to go pick out the horse, the guys didn't know how to ride horses. They had no idea how to ride, so they had to go. Jerry had to be the one to do the testing of riding horses, and he had no clue about what to do. So can you imagine that? Imagine Elvis had this bad incident that happened to him with horses, so I'm surprised that he wanted Priscilla to have a horse.
Yeah.
And so he never got on the horses when it came to testing them. But Jerry was the one, and then so Elvis had a good laugh watching him test all of these horses so that they could select. I don't know how they could select a horse for us, or the riders, but they did a good job.
Yeah.
So we got 2 horses, Domino, and my horse was her guide. Priscilla's was Domino.
Yeah.
And we had the horses, and that led to a ranch, us fixing the barn and building, keeping all of the things in the barn and having to fix up the barn. And we all did it together as a family. Elvis was in there painting and hammering, running the bulldozer, and doing all of that kind of stuff to clear the area, the back area, so that we could have more riding space, leading to everyone else getting horses and getting all of the equipment that was needed for it. And so it was a fun activity, a fun part of our life that, we spent a lot of time doing that when we were all home, and it led to bigger things,
And they've made a point even now to continue. There are still horses there because they were always there, and so that's
I
why.
was so happy to see that. It was just, I wanted to go and touch the horses and feed them an apple, and take food to them like we did, But I'm so glad that they have them there because they belong in that place.
That's nice.
In that space.
That's
It
nice.
really
You
is.
would know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They belong there.
Last night, walking, I took you and your son into the music room where the piano was. And you talked about there were times when you would be in the house and you would hear him at that piano.
Yeah. That just, Elvis was amazing. For someone not having any music lessons, voice lessons, guitar lessons, piano lessons, he would get on his piano there and he would be just singing by himself. And little by little, we would all come in, I could hear him singing, and he would sing, "Richer Than I," "You'll Never Walk Alone," all of these beautiful "How Great Thou Art," and there's songs that really touch my heart, are some of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I just miss that so much.
Yeah.
I could visualize him being there. I felt like he was there with me still, even if I didn't hear him, and I don't know, it just led to better things, for him when he got to go to Vegas. And do the movies in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
For you, life here in Memphis, like you were saying, was just so different. You saw Elvis. It's like Tony was saying that there's the performer and there's the person, and when he leaves the gates, he's Elvis. But you saw the man, like you said, with nailing boards, and you saw the real person.
And I even got to see the kid though in here.
Yeah.
Which was good. It was really fun, unbelievable, because we go to the movies, and this is all new to me. I mean, I don't know what we did was after the theaters or the playgrounds would close, Elvis would rent it, and so all the guys and their families, not the families, it's just adults, would go and hang out there. So we'd ride on the Pippin cars, the Dodger cars, and play all night until morning, and then it would close, and then we'd go to the Memphian Theater and hang out there after the theater is closed. It was like a private showing where he had all of his favorite movies that he liked. The guys would go across to Arkansas and rent it and borrow it and then bring it to the Memphian Theater. Mm-hmm. And so that was really something new and exciting. Even roller skating. I mean, we were all like kids, They were like kids. They were grown men, but still doing the fun things that they
Fireworks.
had to do. Fireworks. Fireworks on the top of Graceland. I mean, his balcony on the top. They'd be shooting fireball, Roman candles at each other, and firecrackers. Yeah, fun things. But we also had real solemn moments where we got together as family and had dinners together, and we'd have breakfast. But breakfast a lot of times, or dinner, could be very informal. Even if we sat at the dining table, eventually, because there were so many of us, we'd go into the jungle room. Just take your plate and impromptu sit in the jungle room and have dinner and talk story. Yeah. In Hawaii we call it talk story a lot instead of chit-chatting. And we talk. That's what we did a lot of, is getting to know each other so much better and their families.
Your son said last night, we were talking about a film clip that I think it's at Christmas, and the camera pans over to Dodger, and she kind of puts her hand up like this. And this is kind of away from all the present opening and Vernon in the Santa suit and Lisa opening. It pans over to Dodger and she puts her, but you're there, away from the man, you're over there talking to Dodger.
Oh gosh.
And your son said that's so much like you. You seek out the elder to sit and talk.
I just gravitate to the kupuna. In Hawaii we call them kupuna. The elderly, our grandparents, our elderly people, and they need attention too, and they need love, and they love to talk story, and tell their tales to us, and seeing that clip, that photo clip of me there with Dodger while everybody else was outside. It was Priscilla's birthday, and Dodger doesn't get around too often. She loves being in her room, and so whenever I was there, I made it a point always, whether we were living at Graceland or outside, out of the apartment, made sure that I, spent some time with her. Yeah, she was a special grandma. Yeah, we called her Dodger. Elvis named her that.
This has been an appearance. Jerry talked last year to me, he called me at some point and said, I've got this idea. And then called me back and said that they had worked it out, he had talked to you, and you were going to come be a part of this. Jerry, if you want to make your way back out here, I've got one question I want to ask you before he gets here. What was it about now that made you want to come here, where you two are? What was it about being now that you wanted to come here and be a part of this again?
I feel like it's been such a privilege and an honor for me to be invited because of Elvis, the person that he was. Look at you guys here. I mean, all of you here embracing his life and his legacy. You know, I said, I did not know what to expect, and I feel so much a part of it. And this guy brought me all together. And I mean, I was just a little girl, a young girl. I was just from Hawaii, and who would have think that this would have happened to me, and I still, people. I know.
Jerry had this idea and
Yeah.
wanted to make this happen.
Really.
Well, there's a little story that I haven't told you. So we get back from Paradise Hawaiian Style. We never really got any time to spend in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a feeling. And we got to the plane, and Elvis is crying because the Polynesian Culture Center, they did a show privately for Elvis and those guys. And all the people would bring leis. Elvis had leis up to here. And we were going to the airport, and he was literally just tears coming from his eyes. And we get down to walk onto the plane, and Sandy brought me a lei that she had made. So then I knew maybe she was interested, right? So I get on the plane, I'm writing a letter the whole time we're flying back. And then, you know, she's in Hawaii, I'm in Memphis, and I'm sitting in the backyard, you know, between what's now the jungle room and the office. And I'm just sitting in a chair back there, just thinking of Hawaii. And I get this hand on my shoulder, and I look up, and it's Elvis, and he said, "You're no good for me anymore." I said, "What do you mean, man? What did I do?" And he hands me a ticket to go to Hawaii. He says, "Go back and get her." Well, now that process took a year or so, but I did come back and spend a month. And that's how much he loved her as well. He wanted her with us.
Yeah.
And, you know, here she is.
And you were so protective of her in the process of getting you here. He called me and he said, "I want to make sure everything is just perfect for her. She's not someone who's used to all this and the winging it nature that most of us have in doing things on stage, that you're a very private person and you hadn't been back, and we wanted to make sure that everything was good for you and that you were going to be here."
And he did it, you know.
Well, you know, the beautiful Graceland stuff. When Alicia called me and said that and what did I think about this? I said, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah.
And so I said, "Yeah, you know, absolutely call her." I heard this real silence. I said, "Yeah, I will call her."
And one thing that we want to also say, because she's back there now, the president of the Jerry Schilling fan club, Cindy, she's vice president of the Tom and Jerry Corporation.
That's right. We have
My
the
wife
Tom and
was
Jerry
back
show.
that Cindy was a flight attendant, and
Yeah, flight attendant for 42 years, I believe. And so anyway, she was so behind this that, you know, she would go over with Sandy what would be the best connections. I think you had to take 3 flights, you and Bob. So Cindy was very good. Cindy was very instrumental in making Sandy feel comfortable. I think she sent you some videos.
Yeah, she sent me videos, and she sent me, you know, explained to me what this was all about to make me comfortable.
Yeah.
And then
she used to
she's
visit
been-
you in Hawaii on
She did,
layovers
on
as a
layover.
flight attendant
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So
So I
you
got
guys
to
have a
know.
friendship.
But I just kept telling Sandy, you know, don't worry about it. The fans are going to love you.
I told her when we were talking on the phone, said, you know, I've been doing my radio show in Tupelo for 7 years, and I grew up watching Hawaii Five-O, obviously, my generation. And at the end of Hawaii Five-O, Jack Lord would always say, you know, we've got this next week on Hawaii Five-O, the show thing, and then he would say, be here, aloha. Right? So we grew up with that. So that's how I end. The last word I say on my show is always, be here, aloha.
Oh my gosh.
So I've been doing that for 7 years, and I feel like that's this little connection that I have with your culture in Hawaii and my love for television and Jack Lord, a friend of Elvis. I mean, all these things that connect, and it's happened more than once this weekend, I'm sure to you, that you've learned something or you found out something and you didn't know it connected across. And it's so wonderful to have you here, and so wonderful to be able to experience going through the house last night.
Can I share something with you that happened to me last night? It was amazing. We were sitting in the audience back there, and in the front of us is a woman and a girl, you know, sitting down together. And so my son, they were trying to take a selfie of themselves. And so my son goes and asks the mom, would you like for me to take a picture of you both? And the girl and the daughter who's next to her turns around and looked at me and started to cry. She started to cry. She said, it's you. I said, what do you mean? I said, she said, you don't realize just having you here how wonderful she feels. She was in, I've read about you, I know about you. I said, you do? And last night, at our hidden tour that we took of Graceland, the women that were there just embraced me and made me feel so welcome and at home. I could not believe it, and it's all because of Elvis and what he's, the life that he's,
Sandy, the great guy that I introduced you to earlier, is backstage. Mr. Jack Sugg, who is responsible of putting all these wonderful people together and opening up Graceland with Priscilla, but it was like everybody, the word on the street, remember, that won't last 6 months. And Jack had all these ideas, but he always, you know, some of us people, I've been on this circuit, you know, we've done this a few times. It's always very new to me, and but people will talk about, and Jack will very humbly say, God, you know, I thought it was about Elvis, and I love that statement. You know, I thought it was about Elvis. And then Peter Gorelnik and I had this running thing. You know, people will say, yeah, I told Elvis this, and I did this. And so Peter and I would look at each other and say, then I told Elvis. So between Jack, I thought it was about Elvis, and Peter, and then I told Elvis. But Jack opened it up, put together the same type of people that, you know, Regina, Angie, you know, Alicia, you guys know the people I'm talking about. And some have been here 40 years. And then Joel has come in, and I think taken this to a next level, and still the heart and soul of Elvis Presley Enterprises is still here. And I just want to say, if I don't see you guys on this trip again, you know, I appreciate all the love that you have given me. And I know it's all about Elvis, and I mean that. And for welcoming Sandy, it means so much to her, and it means so much to me, and it's just been wonderful. So, yeah.
Great to have you here. Everybody, Jerry Schilling and Sandy Kawelo. we've got the candlelight tonight, as you know. I apologize for running a little long, but I think it was worth it. I hope you do too. Where else are you going to go but out in the heat? Tomorrow, the Inspired by Elvis show, remember, with Terry Mike Jeffrey, Jillian Cardarelli, hosted by DJ Argo, the band Armada, and they just added Dean Z to the list. I think I told you that. Peter's got a book signing. It is today, in fact, 3 to 5 in Threads, and Elvis on the big screen tomorrow night. Or it might be tomorrow for Peter. Double check the Peter thing for me, okay? Both.